Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to take all that dense research and turn it into something you can actually use, something unforgettable.
Yeah, customized knowledge.
Exactly. And today we're tackling, well, probably the biggest hurdle for anyone trying to learn a language as an adult.
Right. And it's probably not what you think. It isn't, complex grammar like German cases or uh, tricky pronunciation like Chinese tones.
No.
Our sources in these range from cognitive psychology studies to like the memoirs of incredible polyglots. They all point to the same thing, the number one enemy. It's just forgetting, plain old forgetting.
Ah, yes, that feeling. You look at a word, you saw it yesterday, maybe even 5 minutes ago.
Nothing, just static, blank screen.
It's so frustrating. And the classic advice is always, just immerse yourself. Move to Spain, fall in love, get a demanding job there.
Brute force immersion, which is great if you can do it. But let's be real, most of us have lives, right? Jobs, families, roots. We can't just up and move.
Not an option for most people. We need something else.
We need a system, a plan that works with the lives we actually have. So this deep dive, it's all about using psychology, basically hacking your memory.
Okay, hacking memory. I like the sound of that.
We want to shift away from that feeling of constant, conscious studying, drilling lists, feeling like homework.
Ugh, the drills.
Right, and move towards something more like subconscious acquisition, making the information stick almost automatically
Ow.
by linking it really deeply in the mind. Not just its meaning, but connecting it through strong emotions and mental processing, making it practically unforgettable.
Okay, so if we're hacking memory, we need to understand the hardware first, right? The brain itself.
Exactly. Where does memory live? How does it work?
Because it's not like a filing cabinet, is it? Where you put one word in one specific folder.
No, not at all. That's a really important distinction. Think of it more like a massive, dense web. You've got, what, roughly 100 billion neurons?
Something like that, yeah. A huge number.
And each one of those neurons can connect to thousands of others, maybe 7,000 on average. It's incredibly interconnected.
Wow.
So when you learn a new word, the goal isn't just to store it in one tiny spot. It's to weave it into that web, build connections to it from all different angles.
Right, so it's robust.
Precisely. And there's some classic research that really illustrates this. Scientists were trying to find the exact spot where a memory was stored.
Like, where did the rat remember the maze?
Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. They'd teach a rat a maze, and then they'd systematically remove small parts of its brain.
Trying to cut out the memory.
They thought they could find the one spot and make the rat forget the maze completely,
Yeah.
but it didn't work like that.
No.
No. They could damage connections, sure. And the more brain they removed, the slower the rat might be, or the more errors it made. But it never completely forgot the maze.
Why not?
Because the memory wasn't in one spot. It was distributed across that huge network. Too many connections, too spread out.
Okay, so for us language learners, the lesson is, don't just glance at a word.
Right. You need to build a dense network around it. Lots of connections. So if one pathway is a bit weak that day, maybe you're tired or stressed.
Another pathway lights up and gets you there.
Exactly. Retrieval becomes much more reliable.
So how do we build that dense network efficiently?
That leads us to this really useful psychological framework called levels of processing, or LOP.
Levels of processing. Yeah.
The core idea is that how deeply you think about something when you first encounter, it determines how well you remember it later.
Right.
Deeper processing equals stronger memory.
And there are different levels.
Yeah, a kind of hierarchy. The shallowest level is what they call structural processing. That's just looking at the physical appearance. Like, is the word capital letters? What's the font? How many letters long is it? Very superficial.
Doesn't stick well, I imagine.
Nope. Very weak memory trace. The next level up is phonological processing. Yeah, focusing on the sound. Does it rhyme with another word? How do you pronounce it? That's better than just looking at the shape, but still pretty prone to fading.
Okay, so what's the deepest level? The one we want?
That's semantic processing. This is where you engage with the meaning. What does the word mean? How does it relate to other things you already know? What's the context?
Thinking about the meaning, not just the form or sound.
Precisely. And the sources really highlight one incredibly powerful way to get to that deep semantic level, something traditional language classes often miss.
Which is?
Visual memory, using images.
Our visual system.
That's phenomenal. Honestly, our ability to remember pictures often blows auditory or text memory out of the water. They're just wired for it.
And there's actual data on this, right? Some pretty striking studies.
Oh, yeah. The data is stunning. It really should change how everyone thinks about learning vocabulary.
Tell me about those 1960 studies. The magazine ads won.
All right, the two alternative force choice test. Basically, they showed college students a bunch of pictures, like magazine ads, hundreds of them. Later, they mixed these old pictures with new ones and asked the students to pick out the ones they'd seen before.
And the results?
The recall was 98.5% correct.
98.5, that's almost perfect after just seeing them once.
Pretty much, yeah. The brain just seems to soak up images. And they pushed it even further in another study, showed students 10,000 images over 5 days.
10,000?
10,000 distinct images, like a marathon slideshow. And even after that massive load, they could still correctly identify 83% of them later.
Wow. Okay, so the takeaway is definitely not, I have a bad memory.
No, it's I've been using the wrong input channel. We've been trying to force text through when our visual bandwidth is enormous.
Like trying to download a movie over dial-up versus fiber optic?
Exactly that. Images inherently carry so much context and meaning. That's semantic information. If I say cat, you don't just process the letters C-A-T.
No, I see a cat. Maybe my cat. Or a specific cat I know.
Right. An image pops up instantly. Fluffy, orange, maybe sitting on a sofa. And that image connects to all your existing knowledge and feelings about cats. That's deep semantic processing happening automatically, effortlessly.
Okay, so this is super actionable. If I'm learning, say, the French word maison for house.
Don't just write maison house 50 times. That's shallow structural processing.
What should I do?
Find a picture of a house.
Oh.
Or, like the source material strongly suggests, even if you think you're the worst artist in the world, draw one.
Draw a house, like a stick figure house?
Absolutely. A stick figure house is fine. The act of drawing itself engages different parts of your brain, motor skills, translating the abstract word into a concrete visual.
Okay, drawing, or finding images.
And here's a pro tip. The process of finding images is actually a powerful learning moment itself. Spend like 15 seconds just scrolling through Google Images for Maison.
Why is scrolling helpful?
Because you're not just seeing one image, you're seeing 20, 30 different houses. Big ones, small ones, French ones, modern ones. Each distinct image activates slightly different parts of that semantic network related to house.
Ah, so you're building that dense web you talked about right then and there.
Instantly.
Yeah.
You're forcing widespread activation. The brain just sucks those images in like a sponge.
Okay, visuals give us density, that makes sense. But you mentioned needing something even stickier, anchoring that web.
Exactly. We need to go deeper than just a generic picture. We move beyond just general meaning into the highest level of processing.
Which is?
Personal connection, the emotion, linking the new information to your life, your experiences.
This feels like the core insight.
It really is, because the research is pretty clear on this. If you connect a new concept to yourself personally, you'll remember it about 50% more easily than if you don't.
50%. That's huge. That's a massive difference.
It's an enormous advantage, and it costs nothing but a moment of focused thought.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate. Does spending that extra time creating a personal link actually save time overall compared to just, quicker, shallower encoding and more review later? A lot of listeners are busy.
That's a fair question. But I'd argue yes, the trade-off is absolutely worth it. Think about it. You're shifting effort from potentially endless, frustrating, ineffective review-like trying to fill a leaky bucket to one single focused moment of really deep, effective encoding.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly. Think about meeting someone new. If you just hear their name, John Smith, it might vanish in seconds.
Yeah.
But if you immediately link John Smith to your cousin John, or realize he works at the same company your friend does.
You create a hook.
You create a hook. It connects to something already solid in your memory. A new foreign word is like that new name. Make it personal.
Okay, let's use your example. Gato, the Spanish word for cat. How do I make that personal beyond just seeing a cat picture?
Don't just link gato to the abstract concept of cat. Link it to your cat.
Yeah.
Or a memorable cat from your past.
So I should picture my childhood cat, Mittens.
Yes. Picture Mittens, the specific fluffy gray cat, maybe purring on that specific ugly green blanket you had in your childhood bedroom. Or maybe you link gato to the feeling you had, that specific mix of excitement and nervousness the day you adopted your first kitten.
Okay, I see. You're embedding the new word gato into a rich existing memory structure that's already loaded with detail and, importantly, emotion.
It's now tied to your personal history, not just a dictionary definition. That gives it weight.
That works really well for concrete things like cats and houses. But what about more abstract words? Or like complex phrases or idioms? Say I learn a verb like to postpone or an idiom like to bite the bullet. How do I personalize that?
Same principle,
Hmm.
just requires a little more creativity. You have to actively fix that new structure or expression into the reality of your own life. If you learn the idiom, bite the bullet, don't just memorize the translation. Take, say, 30 seconds. Actively ask yourself, okay, when was the last time I had to bite the bullet?
Hmm. Maybe that difficult conversation I had with my boss last week. Or deciding to pay for that expensive car repair.
Perfect. Now, mentally overlay the feeling and the details of that specific personal experience onto the new idiom. Feel the reluctance, the necessity, the slight dread of that conversation while thinking, bite the bullet.
So the emotional weight of my own memory provides the glue for the new phrase.
Exactly. You're lending the abstract phrase the concrete emotional significance of your own lived experience.
So the clear action step for listeners is whenever you encounter something new, a word, a phrase, maybe even a grammar point, pause and ask, when did I last see this, feel this, do this, or what's a specific example from my life?
Yes, that active personalization is crucial. And this connects directly to why active recall, like using flashcards, is so powerful, especially when you get immediate feedback.
Okay, explain that connection.
When you're trying to remember a flashcard and you
Yeah.
just can't, your brain isn't just sitting there passively.
No, it's churning, searching. You feel that little bit of strain.
Exactly. It's actively searching that web for the answer. It's primed, it's ready, it wants the information. You've created a state of, like, necessary tension.
Okay.
Now, if you immediately flip the card and see the answer, the word, the picture, maybe your personal connection cue, two really important things happen psychologically.
What are they?
One, if the memory trace was really weak, maybe almost gone, you've just created a brand new, much stronger, original experience. Right at the moment, your brain was demanding that specific piece of info. It's like stamping it in when the metal is hot.
Okay, so it makes a fresh, strong imprint. What's the second thing?
If you were close, maybe you knew it started with G, but couldn't quite pull Gato out that instant correction, seeing the right answer, it actually triggers the reward centers in your brain.
Ah, the dopamine hit.
Exactly. That little aha moment, the completion of the search pattern, gives you a small but significant burst of dopamine. It feels good.
Like solving a mini puzzle.
Right. And that chemical reward makes the whole experience more memorable. It reinforces that specific pathway. You're basically training your brain, hey, finding this word feels good. Let's make this connection stronger. It overwrites the frustration of forgetting with the pleasure of successful recall.
Okay, we've got visuals, we've got personal emotional hooks. That seems solid for vocabulary. But then there's the other stuff. The stuff that often feels completely arbitrary and frankly makes language learning feel like trying to memorize the tax code.
Ah, yes. Grammar, abstract concepts.
Especially things like grammatical gender in languages like French or German or Spanish, or case endings. Why is table masculine but chair is feminine? There's no logic.
Exactly. This is often where adult learners hit a wall. Because, as one source puts it, grammar is perhaps the most abstract field in the realm of the intellect.
That sounds about right.
Our adult minds are trained to look for reasons, for patterns, for logic. When we hit something that seems completely arbitrary, like grammatical gender, our usual learning strategies just fail.
Because you can't really form an emotional connection with the dative case, can you?
Precisely. Or, visualize a subject complement in any meaningful way. It's pure abstraction. Rote memorization, just repeating it to tisch, tisch, du, is incredibly inefficient here because there's no natural image, no inherent meaning, no personal story to hook onto. It's just an isolated fact.
So how do we possibly remember this abstract, arbitrary stuff?
This is where we need to get creative, even a bit weird. We pivot to using mnemonics, but not just any mnemonics. We need strategic, highly memorable, vivid, and often absurd imagery.
Absurd.
Yes. The sources are quite clear. To defeat abstraction, the imagery needs to be non-boring. It should be vivid, multisensory, funny, maybe even a bit shocking or vulgar.
Vulgar, really?
Well, one source literally says it helps to have a dirty mind. The point isn't to be crude for its own sake, but that things which are surprising, taboo, or emotionally charged even negatively are inherently more memorable than bland facts. Vividness is the key.
Okay, so we're using shock value to create memory hooks for boring grammar.
Essentially, yes. Let's take grammatical gender, the classic example. If your language has masculine, feminine, maybe neuter nouns, you need a system. From day one, you have to bake that gender information into your image for the word using a consistent, memorable, absurd mnemonic theme.
Okay, give me an example system. How would this work?
All right, let's say you decide arbitrarily, but consistently, that for all masculine nouns, Your mnemonic image will involve fire and explosions. For all feminine nouns, maybe it involves water or drowning, and for neuter nouns, maybe it involves shattering glass.
Explosions, drowning, and shattering glass. This sounds extreme. Are we seriously recommending imagining violence to learn grammar? Won't that get distracting or, unpleasant?
It does sound extreme, but remember the goal. We're fighting arbitrary facts that our brains desperately want to reject because they lack inherent meaning. We need to force a connection. The shock value, the absurdity, the vividness, that's what carves the neural pathway when logic offers nothing.
So the extremeness is the point. Bland doesn't work here.
Exactly. Distraction happens when the image is weak or generic. A truly shocking or absurd image grabs your attention instantly and creates a strong encoding. It's about impact.
Okay. Defend the method.
Well,
Wie für it. Let's say I'm learning German. The word for truck, der Lastwagen, is masculine. How do I use your fire system?
Right. So there is masculine. Your system links masculine to explosions. So you don't just picture a truck. You take maybe 3-5 seconds, close your eyes, and vividly imagine that truck exploding. See the fireball, hear the bang, maybe even feel heat. Make it big, make it loud, make it memorable. That explosion is your mnemonic tag for masculine.
Wow. Okay. And what about neuter? German has neuter das, and sometimes it's illogical, like das Mädchen, the word for girl, is neuter. That trips everyone up. How does shattering glass help there?
Perfect example of arbitrary assignment. Mädchen feels feminine, but the grammar says neuter.
Das.
Your system links neuter to shattering glass.
Yeah.
You take a few seconds, and you mentally shatter that image of the maiden or girl into a thousand tiny, shimmering, maidenly glass pieces.
Shadow the girl.
Visualize it clearly. Hear the tinkling sound.
Yeah.
It's absurd, yes. Maybe slightly disturbing, but it's memorable because it's unexpected and vivid. You're connecting the arbitrary grammatical fact, das, to a strong, albeit artificial, sensory image. You're giving the abstract concept a physical weight it doesn't naturally have.
That really reframes it. It's not just dry study. It's like creating these mini, bizarre mental art projects for every word. Maximum impact.
Precisely. And you can extend this idea, especially for more complex things like abstract verbs or grammar rules that involve steps or sequences. We can use more structured mnemonic systems.
Like what?
Like the person-action-object system, or PAO.
Okay, define PAO for us. How does that work?
PAO is a way to create really flexible, vivid scenes. You assign a unique person, a unique action, and a unique object to specific things you need to remember, maybe numbers or playing cards, or, in our case, difficult verbs or grammar concepts.
So a specific person doing a specific action with a specific object.
Right. And then you combine these three elements into one single memorable image or mini-story.
Can you give a language learning example? How would I use PAO for, say, an abstract verb I'm struggling with? Maybe the Spanish verb dudar, to doubt. It's hard to picture doubt.
Great example. Dudar is a mental state, hard to visualize directly. So you assign a PAO sequence to it. Maybe your person is someone known for skepticism, like Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, Sherlock Holmes is the person for dudar.
Your action could be him closely examining something, maybe peering through his magnifying glass.
Right, examining action.
And the object could be something representing doubt, maybe a giant cartoonish red question mark.
Okay, Sherlock Holmes, person examining action, a giant red question mark object.
Exactly. Now, whenever you encounter dudar or need to recall it, you don't just see the letters D-U-D-A-R. You instantly see that vivid scene. Sherlock Holmes intently examining the giant question mark with his magnifying glass.
That definitely makes the abstract idea of doubt concrete and visual.
And it's flexible. Let's say you need to link dudar to a specific tricky grammar rule, like maybe when it triggers the subjunctive mood. You can add another element to that scene. Maybe the magnifying glass suddenly shatters and the shards glow with a specific color you've associated with the subjunctive mood.
Ah, so you layer the mnemonics.
Yes. You're anchoring these abstract terms and rules, stopping them from just floating around disconnectedly. You're linking them to known concepts, Sherlock, question marks, through a memorable visual story. It gives them structure and makes them retrievable.
Okay, so we've got the depth sorted out, visuals, emotion, these wild mnemonics for the hard stuff. We know how to encode things strongly, but even strong memories fade, right? We need to maintain them.
Absolutely. Encoding is only half the battle. Now we need to talk about timing, efficient retrieval practice.
And this brings us to spaced repetition systems, SRS.
Exactly. Timing is just crucial for memory. The ancient Greek poet Hesiod said something like, right timing is in all things the most important factor. And that's definitely true for memory.
So what's the right timing For reviewing vocabulary or grammar.
SRS systems are designed based on the psychological principle of the forgetting curve. The idea is to prompt you to recall a piece of information right at the moment you're about to forget it. Not too soon when it's still easy, and not too late when it's completely gone.
Catching it just as it's slipping away.
Precisely. That moment of slight struggle, followed by successful recall, is incredibly powerful for strengthening the memory trace long term. It's much more effective than just reviewing something 10 times in a row when it's fresh.
Why is that struggle so important?
It relates to something called the testing effect or retrieval practice. The effort involved in pulling that memory back from the brink actually signals to your brain, hey, this information is important and I need to access it. That effort itself reinforces the neural pathway much more strongly than passive review, like just rereading the word.
You're demanding effort, and the brain responds by making the connection more robust.
You got it. And when you look at the efficiency gains from using SRS, it's kind of mind-blowing. It totally reframes how much time you think you need to spend studying.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Well, consistent use, maybe just 30 minutes a day over, say, 4 months, can allow you to learn and actually retain something like 3,600 flashcards, words, phrases, grammar points with 90 to 95% accuracy.
3,600 items retained accurately with just half an hour a day.
Yeah, because the system automates the scheduling. It takes the guesswork out of what should I review today. You spend almost all that time actively recalling things you've almost forgotten. That's the sweet spot for maximum neural reinforcement with minimum time wasted.
It sounds less like tedious memorization and more like a game.
It really can feel like that,
Yeah.
like a fast-paced video game where the difficulty is always perfectly calibrated to challenge you just the right amount. It keeps you engaged.
And even simple systems work, like the old paper flashcard boxes.
Oh yeah, the Leitner box system, where you have different compartments, maybe 7 levels. If you get a card right, it moves up a level and gets reviewed less frequently. If you get it wrong,
Back to square one.
all the way back to level 1, reviewed very frequently again. It's the same core principle. Digital tools like Anki or Memrise just automate that exponential spacing schedule perfectly, handling thousands of cards. It just makes sure the memories you're building are durable, built for the long haul.
Okay, so SRS handles the vocabulary and the concrete facts through timed recall. But what about the bigger picture? Understanding and speaking naturally, putting it all together.
Right. Deep encoding and spaced recall give you the building blocks. Now you need to activate what linguist Stephen Krashen famously called the language acquisition device, or maybe more simply, your internal language machine.
The language machine. Sounds impressive.
It is. It's that incredible pattern crunching tool deep in your brain. It's the same system that allowed you to figure out the incredibly complex grammar of your native language as a child, mostly without conscious effort.
Without anyone explaining noun phrases or verb conjugations.
Exactly. You just absorbed it from hearing thousands and thousands of examples. The good news is that machine doesn't just switch off when you become an adult.
Okay, that's encouraging.
The maybe slightly tricky part is that for adults, it runs best on a very specific kind of fuel.
And that fuel is
Comprehensible input, CI.
comprehensible input, meaning
Krashen makes this key distinction between learning, which is conscious knowledge, like memorizing a grammar rule, and acquisition, which is that subconscious, intuitive feel for the language you get from exposure. The language machine runs on acquisition.
okay.
So comprehensible input is language sentences, conversation stories, where you understand the overall message, even if you don't know every single word or understand every single grammatical structure in it.
Understanding the gist, even with some gaps.
Precisely. There needs to be something new in there for you to acquire. Krashen called this I+1, input plus one level beyond your current state. But the overall context has to make it understandable.
But hang on, this sounds like you're saying, don't worry too much about explicitly learning grammar rules. That feels risky. I've spent my whole life being told grammar rules are the foundation. How do I just trust this machine?
It feels risky because it's often counter to how we were taught in school. But think about fluent speakers. They don't consciously run through grammar charts before speaking. It's automatic. That automaticity comes primarily from massive amounts of comprehensible input, not from drilling rules.
So the intuition comes from patterns absorbed over time.
Exactly. Adults, just like kids, acquire the patterns subconsciously by encountering them again and again in meaningful contexts. Your internal machine crunches those patterns without you even realizing it. The goal is to feed it enough data, enough understandable examples.
Okay, so if I'm an adult learner, how do I find good sources of this CI efficiently? It sounds like just reading a super advanced novel might not work if I don't understand most of it.
Right. The input needs to be comprehensible. So you need sources that provide extra clues to help you bridge that gap between what you know and the new stuff. Things with visual context are fantastic. TV shows, movies, even YouTube videos with clear visuals or captions in the target language. Why? Because the facial expressions, the body language, the action happening on screen, all that provides context. It helps you guess the meaning of unknown words and understand the situation.
Okay, watch movies and TV. Sounds enjoyable.
It should be, but there's a crucial warning here.
Which is?
Avoid the temptation to turn on subtitles in your own native language.
Why not? Seems helpful.
It seems helpful, but it actually sabotages the acquisition process for listening skills. If the English subtitles are there, your brain takes the easy route. Your eyes just read the English, and you stop listening intently to the foreign language audio. You bypass the language machine.
So subtitles off, or subtitles in the target language only?
Ideally, target language subtitles if you need them. Or even better, a technique some experts recommend is reading a detailed plot summary of the episode or movie before you watch it. Maybe in the target language if you can manage it.
Why read a summary first?
Because that preloads your brain with the context, the key vocabulary, the character names, what's going to happen. Then, when you watch and listen, the actual dialogue becomes much more comprehensible because you already have the scaffolding in place.
That makes sense. Pre-learning the context makes the input more digestible. Okay, but what about those pesky grammar rules, like, say, Italian plurals? Pizza becomes pizza, but gelato becomes gelati. Do we just ignore the rules completely?
Not ignore, but transform the role of the grammar book. Don't sit down and try to memorize the entire chapter on pluralization and do 20 drill exercises. That's conscious learning, not acquisition fuel.
So what do you do with the grammar book?
Use it for a quick, targeted scan. Read the explanation of the rule briefly. Notice the interesting examples, especially the contrasting ones like pizza and gelati. Make a mental note, maybe jot them down, and then immediately stop. Skip the boring drills. Move on. Those specific, clear examples you noted, pizza, gelati, those are now premium-grade, comprehensible input. You feed those examples to your language machine, maybe put them on flashcards with pictures, and let the machine figure out the underlying pattern over time as it encounters more examples.
So focus on absorbing clear examples, not memorizing abstract rules. Conquer the language through input, and the grammar proficiency will follow.
That's the most efficient path for most people, yes. The grammar becomes an almost automatic side effect of understanding massive amounts of the language, and this whole process needs to feel, well, not like a chore.
Which brings us back to enjoyment.
Yes, and the idea of the multiple track attack.
Meaning, don't just use one textbook or one app.
Exactly. Use several different types of resources concurrently. Maybe have that grammar book for quick lookups, a good dictionary, an app for SRS flashcards. Maybe you're slowly reading a graded reader book and watching that TV show.
Why juggle so many things?
To maximize the chances of what some call the rub-off effect, serendipitous repetition.
Explain the rub-off effect.
It's that amazing feeling when you learn a new word from your flashcard app in the morning, and then later that same day, you're skimming an online newspaper article in the language, and bam, there's the same word, used in a slightly different way.
That jolt of recognition.
Yes, that unexpected encounter, far from where you first learned it, makes the word stick like superglue. It's like bumping into someone from your tiny hometown completely randomly on the other side of the world.
The surprise reinforces it. The different context deepens the understanding.
Precisely. That little shock that, hey, I know you, feeling engages the emotional memory centers again. It makes the connection stronger, and crucially, it feels good.
So the discovery process itself becomes motivating.
It has to. Finding new words, understanding a sentence you couldn't before, recognizing words out in the wild that needs to become addictive, your new Facebook, your new Reddit. If the learning process itself isn't fundamentally enjoyable and rewarding, you simply won't stick with it long enough to reach fluency. Consistency comes from enjoyment.
Wow. Okay, this has been incredibly thorough. We've really taken apart the process of learning and remembering, moving way beyond just study harder. We've built a systematic approach based on how our brains actually work.
Yeah, leveraging our own internal wiring to beat that biggest enemy, forgetting.
So let's just quickly recap the core blueprint for listeners, the key takeaways.
Okay.
First, go deep with visuals. Use pictures, draw things, even terrible drawings. Your brain is wired for images.
Second,
Make it personal. Connect every new word or phrase to your life, your emotions, your experiences. That gives you that massive 50% memory boost.
I know.
Third, timing. Use spaced repetition, SRS, to practice recall right when you're about to forget. That struggle and retrieval is where the long-term strength comes from. Make review efficient, not tedious.
And finally,
Feed the machine. Constantly provide your brain with comprehensible input stuff you mostly understand. Prioritize subconscious acquisition through enjoyable exposure over conscious rule learning. Watch, listen, read things you like. Visuals, personal connection, timing, comprehensible input. And underpinning it all, making it enjoyable.
that's the framework for turning learning into a rewarding pursuit, not a burden.
And it's worth remembering, too, that the benefits go way beyond just ordering coffee in another country. There's a real cognitive boost, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Learning another language isn't just a skill you acquire, it actively changes your brain. It's like strength training for your cognitive functions.
So you don't just seem smarter.
You actually become smarter in measurable ways. The structure of your brain changes. It improves focus, cognitive flexibility, problem solving, even decision making. It's a powerful workout.
Okay, so a final thought to leave our listeners with, something to chew on.
Well, consider the story of Keto Lom, that amazing Hungarian polyglot. What's really striking about her is that she apparently wasn't interested in languages at all until she was well into her 30s, maybe even 40s.
An age when many people think, oh, it's too late for me to learn a language.
Exactly. Society often tells us language learning is a young person's game. But here's Lom, starting relatively late, and she becomes one of the most multilingual people known, working as a simultaneous interpreter in something like 16 languages.
16 languages starting later in life. That completely shatters the too late myth.
It really should. And when asked about her success, Lom didn't credit some innate genius. She credited her method and her motivation. She explicitly talked about designing her study so it was always an inexhaustible source of joy.
Joy, not obligation.
Right. So, if someone like Lom could reach such incredible heights, starting as an adult, largely by finding a system that made the process itself deeply enjoyable and engaging, using many of the principles we've discussed, like vividness and connection.
Then the question for all of us is,
What are you currently doing, or maybe not doing, that's stopping language learning from becoming your own inexhaustible source of joy? How can you tweak your approach to make it something you look forward to, rather than something you feel you have to do?